Hello, and welcome to the Wisconsin Farm to Early Care and Education training video presented by Rooted. Today, we'll be focusing on family engagement in your Farm to Early Care and Education, or ECE, program. This training video is available for Registry Credit for providers, and information on how to receive this credit is at the end of the video. First, a little introduction. My name is Stephanie Bugash-Scopeline, and I am a Farm to Early Care and Education trainer with Rooted, as well as the outreach specialist for the Wisconsin School Garden Network. As I mentioned before, this video is brought to you by Rooted, and to find out more about us, you can visit our website at rootedwi.org. The funding for our Farm to Early Care and Education work comes from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Before we dive into our topic area for today, I want to talk about what is Farm to Early Care and Education, or Farm to ECE. Farm to ECE is something that can be carried out with anybody who spends time with young children. At the heart of it is a desire to teach children where their food comes from, how it is grown or made, to create a positive relationship with healthy food, and to help children understand how food forms connections with their families, cultural identities, and communities. Not everyone may call it Farm to ECE, but if you've ever planted a seed with a child or taken the students or kids in your care, maybe to a farmer's market or to a pumpkin patch, you're already participating in Farm to ECE. Farm to ECE is generally thought of in 4 activity areas, although they are all interconnected. The activity areas are local foods in meals, snacks, and taste tests, hands-on learning and play in nutrition, food, and agriculture, planting and tending to edible plants or gardening, and then family engagement in health and wellness. This video is a part of a series of 4 videos on these 4 different activity areas. Today, we'll be focusing on the activity area family engagement. As I mentioned, many of the activity areas are interconnected, and this is absolutely true for family engagement. As we go through today, I will be touching on how you can engage your families in topics around local food, hands-on learning and nutrition education, and gardening. Our objective for today is to build knowledge and confidence in engaging Farm to ECE activities with your families. The outline: first, we'll talk about the benefits for engaging families in Farm to ECE activities. Then we'll go through those different activity areas and specifically talk about how you can engage families in local food, nutrition education, and gardening. We'll end with some resources and then some funding ideas. So first, before we dive into the specific activities, I want to talk about the benefits of engaging your families in your Farm to ECE program. Family engagement is central to early care and education quality. When families are involved in education, the children benefit, the program benefits, and families benefit. Farm to ECE can be a tool to help facilitate this family engagement at your site. Looking at some of the specific benefits, Farm to ECE can help increase families' access to healthy and fresh foods, improving their overall health. We can also help create connections and opportunities for parent/guardian and child bonding time and experiences. We know that there is a need for building this connection between families and parents, and this can help build resiliency and emotional, healthy children and communities. Through Farm to ECE, we can also create greater connections and collaborations to our families, which can lead to us discovering new needs, interests, and strengths within our own communities. And lastly, by engaging your families in Farm to ECE activities, we can also promote racial and social equity. I want to touch more on this concept of social and racial equity, as it is central to our work in Farm to ECE. Farm to ECE can be a tool to address poverty and social and racial justice. In Wisconsin, we know that all children do not have equal access to healthy foods and high-quality learning environments. Engaging families in Farm to ECE activities can help promote social and racial equity by highlighting and honoring the different backgrounds and cultures of every family at your early care and education site. By including and engaging families, you are saying, "We care about you, and you are important members of our community." Also, the connection to food can be incredibly empowering. When children and their families are encouraged to explore the cultural connections to their food and where and how it is grown, they can form powerful, positive relationships to that which nourishes their bodies and their communities. We want to support children and families as they build strong cultural identities through food and learning where it comes from, how it is made, and how they fit into that story. We want children to know that they have a place in this world and they are a part of that story. What we eat tells a lot about our family history, the environment we live in, and how and when we eat, and who we eat with tells us a lot about our culture and our customs. To start off the activities, I'd love to share an activity we do at our in-person trainings. I'd like you each to take a moment to think about your very first positive food memory. I'll share mine to start us off. This photo here is of me and my brother. I have wonderful memories of us going over to my grandparents' house where they had a couple of apple trees in the front yard. We loved to climb up into the trees and to help harvest the apples. And then afterward, my grandmother would bring us into her kitchen where she'd show us how to process the apples and we'd make delicious applesauce together. Today, I continue to make the applesauce in memory of my grandmother. When we do this activity at our trainings, many folks share their stories about food. And through these stories, there's almost always a connection between food and family, just like my story. When you thought of a story, did it involve your family or community? In doing this exercise, I hope you can see the powerful connection between food, families, communities, and cultures. It helps to highlight the importance of creating these memories and these relationships to food and family, especially with children. Now, diving into our content areas for ideas on how to engage family in farm to ECE activity in local foods. First, you could create a list of community resources for families in food crisis. This could include information on local food banks and pantries, and WIC and SNAP information. These participants can use their funds at some farmers markets, and some markets are part of a double dollars program. You could also have just general information about local farmers markets or a CSA share. A CSA share is a community-supported agriculture share where you receive a box of veggies every 1 to 2 weeks. For information on this more, you can view our local foods video or see the resource on our website, Community Supported Agriculture and Your Farm to Early Care and Education program. CSAs actually have specific pickup sites for their local veggies. And so one way to increase access to these local foods is to become a pickup site for a local CSA. This way, the families can pick up their vegetables and their kids at the same time. Another idea is you could visit a farmer's market with your students and ask your families to join you. A provider in La Crosse, Wisconsin brings their children to the farmer's market around 2 to 3 p.m. and actually arranges for families to pick up their children from the farmer's market instead. They make a gathering of it, tasting and purchasing local foods and using that time to connect with one another. Here's an example of how early care and education sites can work to take small steps to help connect families to local food. First, maybe you put together a list or make a map of area food pantries to have on hand in case of emergency. Then maybe as the interest for these things grow, you create a bulletin board that features this info and maybe other info on food assistance, farmers markets, and healthy recipe ideas. Potentially then you invite a WIC or food share outreach specialist to talk about food assistance and other options for parents. And then maybe this leads to a grocery store or farmers market tour. At the grocery store tour, you can have a store dietitian come in and share ideas for shopping more healthily. This is just a small example of the steps you can take to build the conversation around local foods and families in your center or program. Now, talking about nutrition education and families, one idea is you can invite families to share their family's traditions around food. You could also collect recipes from families and create a site cookbook. You could have books and props available that show a wide variety of foods and people. Maybe you have a lending library through your center where you lend out those books to different families. You can also help create a shared experience around local foods. We know that shared experiences are important for creating positive memories between the child and their family and community. We also know that when trying new activities, children look back and remember their positive experience they've had before, and therefore are more open to trying new experiences. One way to foster a shared experience is to host an event at your site, using food as a way to gather folks. You could have a stone soup event where everyone brings a vegetable to make one big soup together. If you grew pumpkins at your site or visited a local pumpkin patch, you could have a pumpkin pancake breakfast. The pumpkins could certainly also be purchased from a local store. And the last idea is you could host a pizza party. Again, if you have a garden, you could grow onions, basil, tomatoes, peppers, garlic, and herbs, and then use these things for the toppings on the pizza. Again, all of these things could be purchased from a local farmer's market or the store as well. Now touching on engaging families in your garden program. One way is to create signs in other languages that represent the cultures of people in your program. You could also consider adding plants that are reflective of the diversity and culture of families, such as squash, bok choy, cilantro, okra, tomatillos, garlic, collard greens, corn, potatoes, and cabbage. You could also invite your families to share their stories and experiences around gardening. And then last but not least, you could host a garden workshop day and invite your families to attend that day and help take care of the garden. Now for some drop-off and pickup ideas. This is a photo from UC Davis Child Care Center in Oshkosh. They have a farmer's market stand that they set up at pickup, and the children then sell the vegetables to their parents. This way, the children get to share the vegetables that they were harvested earlier that day, and then it goes into the homes of the families so that they're able then to cook and eat those healthy vegetables. Another idea for pickup is to do taste tests. If you did a taste test earlier in the day with the students, you could also perform the same taste test with the parents. This can help foster conversation between the child and the parent and build excitement over trying new things. I really like this tomato. Did you, Dad? You can also use I tried it stickers when you do taste tests in the classroom. This way, when the kids go home, the parents can ask them about what they tried in school that day. You can find a link to the I tried it stickers template on our website. There will also be a link below in our description. Another idea for engaging your families is doing garden yoga together. Maybe this event could occur actually in the garden. This could help share ideas of mindfulness, health, and wellness. Yoga can be really fun for the kids as well, as they get to try out the different poses and pretend to be different animals and parts of nature. Now, when we think about family and staff engagement in these different areas and activities, one common question I get is, how do I get my staff or families interested and motivated to help out with certain things like my garden? Human motivation can really come down to autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy, the urge to direct our own lives. Mastery, getting better and better at something. And purpose, contributing to a greater good. The more we can help our staff and our communities obtain these three things, the more they will want to be engaged in our garden or other nutrition activities. Think about what the interests of our families and staff is. Is there somebody in your community a master gardener, a carpenter, or is somebody really good at organizing volunteers? Find out what your staff and community members are passionate about and engage them in those different passions. Find out how they want to be engaged in your center and in your garden. In general, when it comes to family engagement, whatever you're doing, make sure that you share it with your families and your staff, maybe in a newsletter or on social media. This in itself is engagement, and you never know what community member might have an expertise to share. One example I have is from a child care center in northern Wisconsin. They were looking to build an outdoor kitchen, and they shared this plan and this goal with their community members. One of their family members, turns out, was a general contractor in the area and recently was renovating a new home. They were then able to gather old countertops that were going to be thrown away but would be perfect for the outdoor kitchen. This allowed the center to receive the countertops for free and allowed them to focus their funds on other aspects of their outdoor kitchen and garden area. Now that we've gone through a lot of ideas for family engagement, I want to take a moment to touch on how family engagement and Young Star are connected. We understand that there's a new rating system for 2021 and 2022, which is not based on points, but instead you get rated on the required items for each star level. One of the required items under Section C, Business and Professional Practices, includes family engagement and is a requirement for 3 and higher rated sites. Looking closer at the family engagement piece, there are 4 items, and you can see the requirements for each star rating at the bottom. And looking at this list, engaging your families in Farm to ECE can help you achieve every single one of these items. Communication. You can share about Farm to ECE activities in the garden or in the classroom in your newsletters. Family needs and feedback. You can get feedback from your families on what they'd like to grow in the garden or what different recipes they'd like to see their kids creating in the kitchen. Collaboration, activities, and families. You can invite families for a work day in the garden or host a harvest event. And lastly, community resources and family support. You can share information about local food options such as farmers markets, CSA, and WIC. Again, all of these things are a part of Farm to ECE and are a great way to engage your families. As we come to an end, I'm going to leave you with some closing thoughts. I think the simplest way to start engaging with your families in Farm to ECE is to build off of already existing activities you're already doing. Ask yourself, how can I adapt this to include our families and community members? I list some examples here. If you already purchase local foods, you could do a taste test with your kids and then include that taste test with the families at pickup. For nutrition education, it might be simple to collect recipes to create a site cookbook. For gardening, you can invite families to do a work day or send seeds home in the spring for families to start them and then bring those plants back to the garden when they're ready to be planted. Before we close, I want to leave you with a couple of resources that contain more ideas on ways to engage your families. These 2 resources, Engage Families with Farm to ECE and Farm to ECE Resources for At-Home Activities, can be found on our website, rootedwi.org, under the Farm to Early Care Education section. Now that I've gone through a couple of different activity ideas for ways to engage your families, you may be thinking, how am I going to fund this? One easy way is through your Young Star Micro Grant. The micro grant can be used to buy supplies such as seeds, gardening tools, and these could be tools too that you use to engage the families with. If you're focusing on local foods in your cooking, you could certainly buy foods that are CACFP reimbursable. Or if you're using a CSA, you could join the Fair Share CSA Coalition Partner Shares program. You could also talk to local farmers about a discount or donations if they have any seconds. If you order in bulk, oftentimes farmers will also give you a discount for purchasing in large quantities. There are also many grants and sponsorships out there. If you subscribe to our newsletter, which we will put a link below in the description, we often share grant opportunities relevant to Farm to ECE activities. And then again, share the ideas that you have with your community members. Just as I shared the story of the countertops, you never know who can help in your community. And that is it for this video on engaging families in Farm to Early Care and Education activities. If you have any more questions or looking for support, you can email us at wifarmtoece@rootedwi.org. For those interested in Registry Credit, I will talk about that in the next slide. If not, I want to thank you for your attention today, and hopefully I've given some inspiration on ways that you can work to engage families in your early care and education program. Thank you. For those interested in the Registry Credit, what you're going to do is you're going to type this link into a web browser. This will then take you to a survey, It's a very short survey. Once you fill it out, the registry credit will then be emailed to you. If you have any problems with this or any issues or concerns, please email us at wifarm2ece@rootedwi.org. Thanks again.